The things that you see third world countries needing, they need food, they need water, water filtration, they need medicine, they need prescription medication, they need self-defense, they need community, they need family. All of these things that you see third world countries needing, that's the stuff that you need to start prepping now. Thank you Genesis Gold Group for sponsoring this video. Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Ladies and gentlemen, everything changes in a couple of weeks. And what does that mean? No, it doesn't mean that in 2 weeks the hammer's going to fall, right? And we're going to be in Mad Max. That's not what that means. What that means is that our way of living, the standard of living that we've been used to in these Western nations, is going to start to degrade at a faster pace, in my opinion. But I'm going to talk to you about why I came up with that opinion. Let's say you wake up a month from now and the purchasing power of your dollars is cut to half. What would you do, ladies and gentlemen? Are you prepared for a life like that, where the purchasing power of the dollars that you earn is cut day after day after day, where maybe one day you will have to ask your boss to pay you at the end of every day so that you can go ahead and spend those dollars at the end of every day, of every work day, before they lose more value the next day? That is the kind of world that I see the Western nations moving toward. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that they are in such a frantic pace to try to take us to a CBDC, a centrally banked digital currency, meaning that there is central control over how you can use that digital currency that they issue you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so today I want to talk about how the BRICS nations are going to be meeting in another couple of weeks, and they're going to be having a summit. There's 40 countries ready to join the BRICS nations, the block of 5. However, there's a lot more invitations out there. I think it's upwards of 70, 74, something like that. And many people would say, let me stop you right now. Many people would say that, AP, that's only 70 countries. There's 190 something countries in the world. And you would be right if you said that. However, what you have to understand is that the countries that are already going to join the block of 5, the BRICS nations, those countries equal to about half of the population of the earth. They equal to about roughly half of the gross domestic product of the earth. Now, what does that mean to you and me? It means that the dollars that used to be used for those transactions that half of the world currently uses will eventually be used less and less and less, sending more of those dollars out of their reserve holdings and sending them somewhere else. Where else would that be? The only place in the world that has no choice but to accept Federal Reserve notes, i.e. US dollars, is the United States of America. And if US dollars start to flood our shores because other countries are no longer keeping as many dollars in reserves as they used to, what do you think that the value of the dollars that we hold now will go to? Do you think that the value will go up or that the value will go down? So we have to prepare for a harder life. Because what I'm talking about is not just the inflation that the government puts on us by printing money out of thin air. I'm talking about inflation that's a lot more than the measly 5 to 10% that we've been seeing for the last several years, excuse me. For the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, we've been seeing inflation, and I would say at least 10%. Right? Even though they say, oh, it's 9%, 5%, at least 10%, if not more. But that's nothing compared to what we're going to see here in the future. And again, I'm not trying to tell you to panic. It's not that this is going to happen overnight, but that is where we will finally find ourselves, ladies and gentlemen. We will find ourselves, pretty much living hand to mouth, like in other third world nations now. So you know this now. Do your own research. But let me at least convince you to do your own research. I don't want to convince you of what I'm saying, but at least convince you to do your own research as to what is coming down the line so that you can protect yourself today, ladies and gentlemen, and not have to worry about it when it happens. When it finally happens and you wake up one day and you're like, oh my goodness, you know what? Every day this month, gasoline has gone up a dime. Every day this month, gasoline has gone up a dime, and now we're paying $7 a gallon. When at the beginning of the month we were only paying $3.50 a gallon. What's going on? Well, at that same time that you ask yourself that question, under those circumstances, you can always take that 25-cent silver quarter from 1964 to the coin shop And I guarantee you that you'll be able to convert it into enough fiat currency to buy that gallon of gas that it used to buy back in 1964. So ladies and gentlemen, let me go ahead and start on this. BRICS, over 40 countries are ready to join the alliance, and this is taking place here in the next couple of weeks. This is a very short read. However, I've got many things to go over with you, ladies and gentlemen, that are just as pertinent as this. The BRICS Alliance is attracting new requests from countries around the world to be part of the bloc. A handful of developing countries are looking to end reliance on the US dollar and trade in their own native currencies instead. Once they start doing this, under the alliance that they're going to go have after they all join the BRICS nations, once they start doing this, they're going to need less dollars. The US pressing sanctions against other nations is what led to several countries decide on ditching the dollar. And what they're talking about here, in case you're not up to date on it, is that these countries got scared. Once the US pretty much confiscated all of those funds, I think it was around $350 billion of Russian funds that were in central banks. Once they confiscated that and said, hey, Russia, you can't play with us, you can't play in the SWIFT system anymore, you're out. Well, other countries were like, wait a minute. What about if the U.S. doesn't like something that we do? Will they be able to just keep our money also? Keep our dollars also? And not allow us to participate? Almost sounds like the same thing that they'd be able to do if we had a CBDC. That they'd be able to just shut down the CBDC of anyone whose voice they did not like. Imagine that, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not a financial advisor, but the folks at Genesis Gold Group specialize in helping those who want to diversify their excess wealth by converting their fiat currency retirement plans into a plan that is backed by real money. So if you're in a position where you are wondering what you can do in order to diversify or insulate your wealth against what I like to call the inferno of inflation, give Genesis Gold Group a call and they can provide you with the information that you need in order to make an educated decision. Once again, thank you very much, Genesis Gold Group, for sponsoring this video. The path for the greenbacks prospects look bleak as the number of countries willing to join the BRICS is growing, and the number of countries is growing, ladies and gentlemen. BRICS is the acronym, for those of you that don't know, of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. The next summit is held in Johannesburg on August 22nd through August 24th, and the Bloc of 5 nation will jointly decide on the induction of new countries in the upcoming summit. Around 40 countries have expressed their interest to join the BRICS alliance a month ahead of the summit. BRICS Ambassador Anil Sukhal confirmed to Reuters that all of the major global south countries have expressed interest to join the bloc. He revealed that BRICS aims to become a champion of the developing world and initiate trade agreements in local currencies. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when all of these developing worlds get together, right, and they start trading amongst each other with their own currencies, man, I just don't know what that is going to do to our markets. But I am going to go over something that gives us an idea, and it is not a good thing. And this bloc of BRICS nations that is now having this summit has emboldened other nations. And I just wanted to show you this as a side note. India convinces 22 countries to trade in rupee and ditch the dollar. So this has really nothing to do with the BRICS nations, right? India is part of the BRICS, but they're convincing other countries that are not even part of the BRICS nations yet, right? They're not part of the BRICS bloc. They're already convincing them to not trade in dollars. And what that tells me is that this is going to go forward, because in the past, decades ago, whenever a country said, hey, I don't want to use US dollars for international trade, usually bad things happen to the leaders of those countries, and bad things happen to the countries as well. But now you have a whole bunch of countries saying, hey, why are we trading in US dollars? You know, I think it was Kenya or Nigeria that said, hey, we're not going to go ahead and trade in US dollars. We need to trade with our own currencies and keep our currencies here so they can become stronger, instead of using the currency of someone that's not even involved in the trade. Now a lot of other countries are getting together and saying we're not doing it. And ladies and gentlemen, when all of these countries that once used to fear us now are like, I don't care, you can't do anything because I got all of these other countries around me doing the same thing, it is almost time to pay the piper. So you better be getting prepared. And I knew that I had read something else that said that it was more than 40 countries. 74 countries ready to attend the BRICS summit in August. Out of that 74 countries, 5 of those countries are the BRICS nations. So it's 69 countries outside of the BRICS nations already that are going to be attending that summit here in the next couple of weeks. And ladies and gentlemen, ask yourselves this question. If you were the head or the leader of that country, of the 69 countries that's going over there, if you were the leader of that country, what would you do for your country? Would you continue to trade in a currency that has not really done any good for your nation over the last several decades, 5-6 decades or so? Or would you go ahead and go in with a block of nations that want to trade amongst each other outside of the US dollar and not have to worry about sanctions and stuff like that? You need to prepare yourself. This is actionable intel. This is going to happen. Just like, in my opinion, a CBDC is going to happen and we need to prepare for that, this is going to happen as well. Countries are moving away from the dollar. You know, the dollar is not going to tank overnight, although it can. You know, I'm not sure if you've heard about that Sandman theory. A whole bunch of countries around the world have already, you know, talked to each other, you know, I guess conspired, I guess you can say, that one day they're just going to dump all the U.S. treasuries in one shot, you know, and pretty much dump the U.S. dollar in one shot. That, I think that's called the Sandman theory, and I think it's Mike Adams that came up with that. But I guess that could happen, but I don't think it's going to happen. More than likely, this is probably going to take place in a little bit of a slower pace, but the eventuality is that the dollar will be valued a lot less than what it is now. Meaning that the labor that you had to give up to earn those dollars now, 5-6 years down the road, it's not going to be anymore. You're going to have your labor have been stripped away from those dollars because those dollars are not going to be able to buy you anything close to what they can buy you today. So protect yourself today. If all 69 countries accept the invitation, the BRICS summit will see leaders from 74 countries present at the table. And imagine if those 74 countries all became part of that BRICS bloc. That's almost half of the world's countries, and I would say more than half of the world's population. That's the number that you really want to concentrate on, is how many people altogether do these countries represent? And this, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the things that we have to be looking at. It allows us to prepare better. 10 U.S. sectors to be impacted with the launch of BRICS currency. Take a look at this. I'm not going to read a lot of this, but I am going to go ahead and leave all of these links so that you can revisit them if you like. A total of 10 financial sectors in the United States could be affected by the launch of a new BRICS currency. So let's say if India needs to get flip-flops, I'm just making something up. They need to get flip-flops from the US, right? So they'll keep enough dollars in their reserves to be able to pay for those flip-flops in dollars. But for anything that they don't need from the US, they're going to keep reserves from either the BRICS currency that they come up with or reserves from that nation itself so that they can do bilateral trading. What does that all mean? That the dollar is going to lose value, ladies and gentlemen. That's what it means. Man, this is going to affect so many people in so many ways that most people are not ready for this. Most people are not ready for this, ladies and gentlemen. International trade and investment, energy and commodity markets, banking and finance, travel and tourism, capital markets, consumer goods and retail, government and policy, technology and fintech, production and consumption. They are finally finding what their value is, ladies and gentlemen. These countries are like, well, the continent of Africa is very rich. They are very wealthy. It's just that it's mismanaged, number one, and they're taking advantage of number two as a whole. So they really haven't realized their wealth within their borders. They haven't been able to keep their wealth within their borders. Now this is going to allow them to do that. And if their wealth is going to stay within their borders, it means that whoever was benefiting from that wealth leaving their borders before, it's not going to benefit anymore. All of these sectors are closely linked to the US dollar and operate globally with the exchange of the USD currency. Also, if BRICS convinces other developing countries to ditch the dollar, the geopolitical dynamics could alter world trade relations. In addition, if banking and finance take the first hit, the negative development could spill over to the commodities and foreign exchange markets. And to finish it off, similarly, the domino effect could topple all the sectors, bringing turmoil into the American economy. Moreover, if the U.S. fails to fund its deficit, prices of all commodities could skyrocket or even reach hyperinflation. This is not a joke, ladies and gentlemen. The BRICS nations and those leaders, they know exactly what they're doing. And you know what they're doing? They are allowing the U.S. dollar to destroy itself. That's what they're doing. They're allowing the U.S. dollar to go to zero on its own. They've seen this coming for a long time, and this has been planned for a long time. So the question is this: are you prepared? Ladies and gentlemen, do you have food? Do you have water? Do you have medicine? Do you have self-defense? All of those things that you see third world countries needing is what you have to start getting now. The things that you see third world countries needing, they need food. They need water filtration. They need medicine. They need prescription medication. They need self-defense. They need community. They need family. All of these things that you see third world countries needing, that's the stuff that you need to start prepping now, because you're going to need that in the future. If you are a half centurion or younger, meaning like my age or younger, then this is going to happen in your lifetime. Having said that, I don't want to make this video way too long. I hope that you have a great day, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you got something out of this. Again, thank you very much, Genesis Gold Group, for sponsoring this video. Remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. I'm Alaska Prepper. I am out.